The story starts as we are introduced to a boy named Kazuma Hashino and a girl standing in a forest. The girl is sad that the boy is going to leave. The boy makes her feel better and says they'll stay friends. Kazuma, who is now a teenager, wakes up on a train. He is sitting next to his brother Ayumu. Kazuma is surprised by how much the scene in front of Ayumu's eyes reminds him of the one in his dream. The boys get off the train in Yamabiko town and catch what they think is a bus to Yorizuyo Inn, where they are supposed to stay. Kazuma and Ayumu have to wait for the right bus at the next stop because they got on the wrong bus. When a monkey shows up at the bus stop, Ayumu looks for snacks to feed it. The monkey, however, steals his hat and runs away. Kazuma goes after it angrily into the forest. After a long chase, Kazuma finds the hat but can't find his way home. Lucky for him, a girl named Yui Nakatsugawa comes along and shows him the way to the bus stop. She jumps from rock to get across a stream. When Kazuma tries to do the same thing, he slips on the last rock, knocks Yui over, and accidentally kisses her. Ibuki Hinata, Yui's friend, sees what happened and sends him away harshly. At the bus stop, Kazuma meets up with Ayumu, and the two of them take the bus to the inn. Senka Yurazu, their landlord, greets them with kindness. As he thinks about what happened that day, Kazuma feels bad that he didn't get Yui's name. The next morning, on their first day of school, Senka introduces the boys to Tsumugi Tauru, who works part-time at the inn and is an upperclassman. He walks them to campus. When Kazuma meets his new classmates for the first time, he finds an angry Ibuki in his class. Yui is sitting. In her dreams, Yui and her younger brother Hajime eat a piece of cheesecake together. The dream shifts to a scene of Kazuma's accidental kiss by the stream while Hajime wipes a cream stain off her cheek. Yui wakes up in amazement, bringing 2 fingers to her lips. Upon his introduction to the class, Kazuma is given a seat at the rear, between Yui and Ibuki. He eats lunch with the girls and Daigo Minamiko Kubaru, the son of their homeroom teacher, as well as a new acquaintance. After school, Tsumugi joins Kazuma and his crew. After stopping to pick up Ayumu, they go on a town tour with Tsumugi's youngest sister, Kasane Tauru. As they meander through the village, the group tells the brothers the legend of the adjacent mountain, Futagoyama, where Kazuma had gotten lost the day before. Ayumu notices parallels between Tanabata's legend and this one. As they continue their journey, the group stops at a neighboring Shinto temple, where Kazuma is introduced to the Miko, Madoka Komodo. But Madoka is shocked to see him and runs away. The group stops at an ice cream shop as their final stop, where they split a sizable parfait. After the meal is finished, Kazuma observes and removes cream from Yui's face, which causes her to recall her embarrassing dream about Hajime. One evening, as Yui is having a bath, she accepts her embarrassment in front of Kazuma and jumps into the water joyfully. In a dream, Kazuma is playing with a girl near a stream. Kazuma offers the girl a ring fashioned of the same white clover flowers as she completes crafting him a necklace. She cheerfully puts it on, and Madoka, who is sleeping in her room, thanks him. After an unpleasant morning and brunch with Senka, Daigo drives Kazuma and Ayumu to school. Kazuma senses that he is being watched as Yui and Ibuki close the distance between them. Lunch break occurs, and when Kazuma and Daigo leave the classroom to grab food, a girl hides, giving him the same emotion once more. Homeroom is dismissed. As Kazuma and Daigo leave, the girl is spotted, and he pursues her. He bumps into Madoka, who body slams him to the ground in a surprised manner. After being ejected from the inn the following morning, Kazuma reconsiders the situation and visits the shrine to make amends with Madoka. After they reconcile, Madoka asks about him and Yui and is moved to tears when she learns they kissed. The girl, who had been watching everything from atop a tree and was disturbed that Madoka is sobbing, reveals herself to be Koyori Tauru, Tsumugi's other sister. She throws acorns at Kazuma, but when Madoka steps in to protect him, Koyori flees. The following day, Ayumu runs a mild fever, and Yui and Kazuma run into her on their way home from school. Yui fantasizes about his doing the same for her as Kazuma rides him piggyback home. After putting Ayumu to sleep at home, Kazuma and Yui unwind with some tea and daifuku in his room. Lunchtime arrives a few days later. Daigo, who is in need of the restroom, throws his lunch to Kazuma, who trips and falls into third-year student Hina Sakai, knocking both of them to the ground. He expresses regret for the incident and remarks on how adorable the ornament hanging from it is as he gives her phone back. As Hina interprets this as mockery, she snaps at him and leaves. Back in class, Kazuma, Yui, Ibuki, and Daigo talk about the impending sporting event, particularly the triathlon-style Hikonen race. Senka informs Kazuma upon his return home that he will be entered on behalf of the inn, as participants in this event must represent a business. As Koyori slides off a tree in the park while he is out for a run to prepare for the marathon, he stops to stop her fall and rescues her. He then goes with her to see an elderly friend and widower named Jenguru Yamakawa. The man urges Koyori to see his grandson Keita, who is in the hospital preparing for an unknown surgery. In her room again, Hina decides to express her regret to Kazuma. The following day, Koyori and Jenguru surprise Keita. In an effort to lift his spirits, Koyori pledges to win the Hikonen race if he maintains his positive outlook towards the procedure. Kazuma runs into Madoka at the shrine and she tells him more about the history of Futagoyama after a brief interaction with Hina, who is unable to offer an apology. The following morning at school, Kazuma, Ibuki, Ui, and Daigo set up a study group at the inn to get ready for finals. Kazuma phones each group member and invites them to go to the beach with him the following Wednesday. Everyone comes to an understanding, and the group has a great time playing in the sand and the water. When Madoka asks Ui about her relationship with Kazuma, she informs her that she views him more as an elder brother than a romantic interest, which gives Madoka some comfort. The party plays volleyball in Suikawari to cap off their stay before departing for their home at dusk. Ui queries Ibuki about her and Kazuma as they stroll back to their house together. Hina falls from hunger while they converse as Kazuma passes by the park on his way home after a meeting with Daigo. She reveals that she has walked away from home following her most recent altercation with her father while Kazuma purchases her some fast food. She has no money and no spare clothes, so Kazuma snuck her into his room at the Yorzuyo Inn. The following morning, Senka finds them, but she agrees to house Hina in exchange for cleaning. When her father learns of this, he tries to have his daughter extradited but is unsuccessful, so Kazuma is challenged to a tug-of-war in her honor. Kazuma prevails despite the fact that the fight is intense and close. Madoka, who was not present at the temple then, gets informed about the tug-of-war and considers it a proposal to Hina. Upon learning about the tug-of-war from Madoka, Koyori, who has just returned from vacation, rushes off to find Kazuma. After discovering him with the others, she unexpectedly confronts him about his apparent proposal. After Kazuma recounts the circumstance, Daigo is persuaded that Madoka must like Kazuma and enlists the girl's assistance in planning a date for them at a theme park. The two love their time there so much that Madoka extends an invitation to Kazuma for a picnic the next morning. The two of them settle down by the stream the following day, and when Kazuma puts Madoka's wind-blown hat back on her head, he realizes that this is the girl from his boyhood. Daigo reiterates his disappointment that Kazuma rejected Madoka as they make our way to school. Madoka joyously catches up to them while Kazuma attempts to argue the contrary. After class, Ibuki and Ui walk home together, and Ibuki impartially warns Ui that if she doesn't confess to Kazuma soon, someone else could, including herself. Both females reflect on the evening conversation when Ayumu contacts Ui to inquire about modeling for him the following day. After being ejected from the inn, Kazuma chooses to go shopping, where he runs into Ibuki. Together, they travel to Honshu, where they spend the day playing video games, shopping, dining, and singing karaoke. Ui, who believes they are dating, is shocked to hear that the drawing is a gift for Kazuma when Ayumu takes a break and sits with him at home. Ui bids everyone goodbye as dusk fell and walks home dejected. Ibuki cheerfully praises Kazuma for a fun outing when they are sitting in the park, makes fun of the two of them being a pair, and, although being serious, playfully asks Kazuma out. He declines the offer and departs but returns a moment or two later to apologize. Ibuki, who is saddened, fights the impulse to cry and insists that her offer was a joke before heading back home as raindrops pelt her. Ui contacts her brother after arriving home and reflects on how she acted during her brother's wedding. She is shocked to find that Kuriko, his wife, is expecting a child. Ibuki goes to the Overlook early the following day to complain about Kazuma. Ui, who is ecstatic to be an aunt, follows her as she makes her way to school. Senka tells Kazuma, who is eating breakfast with the lads, that he will perform as the Ogami at the forthcoming festival's Futagoyama ceremony because he won the Hikonen race. He reluctantly concurs. Daigo advises him to take advantage of the chance to meet Tsumugi, the Megami, and consequently, the town's most attractive female on the way to school. As Ui timidly approaches, Ibuki cheerfully catches up to them, keeping Kazuma and herself apart. After class is finished for the day, Ui and Kazuma go in quietly to practice the ceremony at the shrine. Tsumugi brings up Yui's recent conduct surrounding Kazuma with her after sensing something during dress rehearsal. Despite Yui's attempts to avoid and sidestep the subject, Tsumugi thinks it to be nothing short of love. The ceremony's day finally comes. Tsumugi passes out as the girls are getting into their costumes, complaining of stomachache, and asks Ui to take over for her as the Megami. Kazuma is transported to the end of a bridge above the famous stream on a float. Ui is being wheeled across the bridge in the distance. Kazuma stares at her, stunned. When his feelings for her reach an unbearable level, he deviates from the plan and declares his love for her loud and clear. Ibuki has to persuade Ui before she responds back. Ian hosts an after-party that night. Ibuki and Madoka deal with rejection in the background as Kazuma and Ui have a kiss beneath the Milky Way. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe.